Welcome back to the Spaceport Vlog, where today we're going to talk about The Force Awakens. Now I know what you're saying, but Mason, it's 2016, that was so last year. But last year wasn't that long ago, I mean come on, it's only January. So what I want to talk about, the good, the bad, the weird, and obviously the theories that have spun from it, and the major theory that probably some people actually don't even realize there's a theory, they just think it's kind of already known, which is they think that Rey is Luke's daughter, and I'm gonna tell you what I think later about that. So first, let's just start off with saying, yeah, I really liked it. It was really good, definitely better than the prequels, more exciting than when I saw The Phantom Menace. And I saw The Phantom Menace as a kid, so it was still pretty exciting to me. Being a lover of the original trilogy, because that's what I grew up on, the first movie I saw in theaters was A New Hope, you know, when they changed it to calling it A New Hope rather than just Star Wars. So I loved the original trilogy. To me, that's always going to be the best no matter what. The Force Awakens can be as awesome as it wants to be, but it's never just going to quite match the original trilogy, and I'm okay with that. That's fine with me, because you can't expect those things to happen. Anybody who expects it to be better is just crazy. Anybody who says it's better, well, they're entitled to their own opinion. So yeah, like it was really good. It was kind of followed maybe a little bit too closely to A New Hope. It was kind of almost weird in a lot of ways. You know, you start out on the desert planet, you have the main character, and this other character shows up, and there's a droid involved, and there's some old guy, and then they fly away, and then they meet Han Solo and Chewbacca. It's a little too parallel right there, and then they meet Princess Leia, you know, and then they blow up the Death Star. So there was some serious parallels, almost like not even parallel, just the same story. So that was kind of weird, and I think the only reason why they did that is just because they're trying to get with the original trilogy fans. But when you think about it, I mean, that's basically what they did with The Phantom Menace anyways. Except for they didn't start on the desert planet. They started with Jedi. The Phantom Menace could have been really good. And I still think it wasn't bad. I'm not one of those people who just totally hates it. But geez, there were some parts that were just no. Anyway, so that was kind of weird for me, and kind of held it back a little bit for me. Still a great film, still loved it. There were some parts that were just kind of immersion. Like, they kind of took me out of the feeling of the movie, kind of like almost breaking the fourth wall, I guess you could say. They were like, any time that they tried to over-explain something that really didn't need to be explained, like when, but I should probably let you know that this is going to be filled with spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, you probably should not watch this. So when Han and Leia were talking about, oh, we're not together anymore, blah, 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 and then they're like, it's because of our son turned to the dark side. And it's like, no freaking way. Like, everybody figured that out by now. You don't need to just blatantly say it. No one, in a real relationship, people aren't just gonna be like, well, this is why it happened. The other guy's gonna, if one of them says that, the other person's like, I freaking know, I was there. I know why we left. You don't need to explain it. So that was just kind of weird for me. And then when Kylo Ren was sitting in front of Vader's helmet, and he's like, I should be a dark side, but sometimes I feel the light side still, and that's bad. Sometimes I feel it calling to me, but I gotta be mean, man. And that was just like, you know, you can show that through what happens in the movie. You don't need to just say it. This is not, you have enough time. Quite frankly, I'd already kind of gathered, by the scene before that, I'd kind of gathered that maybe he still holds he still has good in him, like Darth Vader did. But Darth Vader, there was never a point in the movie where Darth Vader was like, I'm totally evil, but I still love my son. You know, they didn't do that because that's stupid. And so those parts for me were, you know, they were not the highlights. I'll say that. They were kind of, yeah, I didn't like it. I don't know why they put those in there. I don't expect them to be in the next one, just because A, it's a different writer, and B, They've already explained all that. The next thing that was really just kind of, I just really did not care for is the scene where they meet Han Solo and they're on the barge, and then suddenly all the people show up, and it was just like this big comedy scene. You know, Star Wars doesn't need all these comedy scenes. We figured that, George Lucas figured that out in the prequel trilogy. He tried to throw comedy in and realized it was not gonna work. And then he went with Revenge of the Sith, where there was nothing funny about that. There was no scene where I was like, oh, I guess there was, but there was not. What was there? There was no intentional humor. Maybe they still tried to do humor with some of the battle droids, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, no, there was humor with R2, but R2 is always funny. You can't not be funny with R2. It's just so easy to write that crap with R2. Yeah, the barge scene was just like, this does not need to happen. I mean, the second they talked about the Spiegel works, or whatever the frig the creatures were, I knew they were going to get free and they were going to chase people down. But I did not expect a Star Trek into this first one scene where all of these Star Trek English people show up and they're like, yo, dog, you owe me money, man. And Han's like, what? And then more people show up and it's like, okay, you know, it was kind of like stressful. You're like, oh no, what's going to happen? These people have docked on him. And then the next people show up and it's like, okay, this is stupid. This is reached the point where it's no longer interesting. And now it's just like, this is dumb. And then they released the other things and I was just like, that was such a cop-out way of getting out of that situation. But the rest of the movie was really great. Even the fact that they had the Death Star again, honestly, to me, that makes sense, because that's kind of the idea behind the Empire. That's kind of the idea behind the Empire. They keep doing with their same plans. They try and make it bigger and better, and it never fails because they don't learn that the dark side always loses. They don't learn that. They don't figure that out. I really like the fact that they're drawing from the sun, because that totally is just like KOTOR. The fact that they related it back to that was just great for me. I was like, this is good. This is what I want. I want stuff taken from KOTOR and put into these movies, because KOTOR for me is the pinnacle of Star Wars. I mean, it's next to the original trilogy, in my opinion. The transition between KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 didn't make sense. But they're still great games. KOTOR 2 is not as good as KOTOR 1 to be. It's pretty close now that they have the remastered mod, bringing back all those cut features. The Old Republic MMO I really enjoy, but still not. I like to play it a lot every now and again, but it's still not as up there as KOTOR. I'm just waiting for KOTOR 3. That's what I really want, because Tor was not KOTOR 3, no matter what they tell you. When they killed, spoiler warning, major spoiler warning if you have not heeded the other ones, when they killed Han Solo off, I've heard a lot of people say they were not surprised. But honestly, in some ways I wasn't surprised either, because it just makes sense, that's what Harrison Ford would want. But I was still shocked. I was like, what? Like, they actually, when I saw that happen, I was like, he's not gonna die. He's gonna be like, he's gonna be okay, right? And then he fell, and I was like, he's not gonna be okay. And then the planet exploded, and I was like, maybe he could come back. I don't know. So they traded Chewbacca for Han Solo. That's what they did. There was some parallels. There was more parallels to the EU, which I thought was neat. The fact that Kylo Ren's name is actually Ben Solo. I don't know if you caught that. Maybe I feel like almost nobody would catch that except for diehard Star Wars fans who are like me, who are like legitimately looking for it the whole movie anyways. The second I knew that he was Han Solo's kid, I was like, I bet his name is Ben. I just have this feeling. I don't know why, because their kid was not Ben. Luke's kid was Ben in the expanded universe, but I just had this deep feeling, and I think because his last name is Ren, and I feel like that's just such a cheesy transition. I was told that Ren was given to him by Snoke. I just kind of assumed that it was like, I'm Ben, and I look up to Anakin Skywalker, Ren. And I think, and I was told that I was also told that they don't know where Kylo came from. So I'm guessing that's where Kylo came from. He's like my grandfather was Skywalker, and my last name is Solo, and we both have last names. I'm gonna be Kylo. So now I'm Kylo Ren. And I think that's where it came from, because he just seems like the cheesy dork that would do that. That's the kind of thing that I feel like he would do. Because he was kind of lame in the movie. I still think he's really cool, but at the same time he's also really lame. And when he took off his mask, it was like, that's a big nose. That was my first. I know my nose is big, and maybe I shouldn't be making fun of him for it, but it was like half his face, and I had like these, because I didn't look up any cast. I feel like a lot of people did. Like, I don't want to know any spoilers. I watched the trailers, and that was the only thing I did. I didn't search anything for Star Wars. I didn't look up the cast. I pretty much only knew you could take from the movies. I mean, not the movies, the trailers. So I didn't know what he was gonna look like, and so I was like, I was like, what's he gonna look like? How he's gonna look close to Han Solo and Leia, and then he was just like this super English guy with a giant nose, and I was like, what the? Oh, I forgot to finish the Ben part. So yeah, I don't know if anybody caught this, but when Han Solo was walking up across the bridge, he doesn't say Ren. When he shouts, he's not saying Ren. He's saying Ben. Now, I wasn't positive of this when I saw the movie, but when I was watching it and I heard him say that, I was like, that sounds like he's saying Ben. He's not saying Ren, he's saying Ben. I know for a fact. I looked it up, and there was a lot of people that confirmed. They saw subtitled versions and things, and he said Ben. He said Ben. So his name's Ben Solo, which makes more sense, because there's no way that they were going to name there's no way they were going to name him Kylo Solo, because that sounds stupid. So he's Ben Solo, and I think that's pretty sweet. I just think there's something cool. That's another nod to the expanded universe that Disney kind of threw in the trash. So I'm glad they kept that. So it was great. What do I have left? I think I have to talk about. So is Rey Luke's daughter? I don't know, but honestly, I think it's very likely, and I really want her to be Luke's daughter. And the reason why it would make sense, and this honestly would make more sense for the reason why Luke disappeared, because, I mean, you think about it, the reason they gave Luke's disappearance was because his one pupil that was his sister and his best friend's son turns to the dark side. So Luke's like, oh, I failed, I'm gonna go and be lonesome and just kind of search the galaxy all by myself and leave my favorite droid all alone. To me, that just kind of felt a little not quite whole. It didn't quite make a total amount of sense. It made some sense, because I can kind of see that. But for Luke, it was just kind of like, I don't see that in his character. But imagine instead if Luke has a daughter, right? Now, his daughter, at a very young age, is kidnapped. He doesn't know who kidnaps her, and she disappears. And Luke tries to find her, and he cannot find her. She's gone. So now, but he still feels he's committed to Leia's and Han's kid, Ben. So then when Ben turns to the dark side, now he's not only lost his own child, but he's lost his sister's child. And that just pushes him over the edge, and he says, I can't do this, I have to leave. I have to go into solitude. He's too depressed. He's lost two kids, both who are very close to him. One, his own daughter, who's trapped on a desert planet just like he is, in the middle of nowhere where no one would ever think to look, because freaking Jakku is the dead end. It's like the butt of a emu. Like, no one's gonna look at that. You know? Does that make sense to you? So I think that's why it makes sense. And the biggest proof that she would be his daughter in the movies is obviously when she goes and grabs Anakin / Luke's lightsaber. I mean, no, there's been tons of Jedi that have touched that thing, and none of them had this huge reaction. I mean, I know it could just be she's strong with the Force, and the lightsaber has this really huge Force connection and is reaching out because it's finally found somebody who can take it and use it again. And it's just kind of that whole Force vision thing that a lot of Jedi go through. I mean, Luke went through it on Dagobah. Anakin had some time when he did it, probably. Ezra Bridger went and did that thing on Lothal. You know, they all have those experiences. But I think the reason why is really because she's part of the fam. But what always drives me, what I always think is hilarious is when people are just like, they just state that Rey is Luke's daughter, and it's like, I saw one person who was like, it's dumb that Rey is Luke's daughter, and I'm like, what? Like, where are you getting this info from, and how is it suddenly dumb? Like, nobody ever says Rey is Luke's daughter. As a matter of fact, currently we have reason to believe that she probably isn't his daughter anyways, because, I mean, Luke isn't with some girl. We never heard of any girlfriend. Mara Jade has not made an appearance anywhere, even though she she should. Come on. As a matter of fact, maybe Mara Jade was killed by Kylo Ren. Think of that. It would be just like the expanded universe. And that would make even more sense why he'd run away, because like he lost his wife, he lost his sister's kid, he lost his own kid. I don't know, maybe that's pushing it too far. But yeah, so when people are just like, it's dumb, it's like, what? Where are you getting this information? You're just making up information and then saying the information you made up is stupid. The only thing that's stupid is what you're doing. That's the only thing that's stupid. So I'm gonna end it here. So don't forget to subscribe because you don't want to miss the next episode. And also, if you think Rey is Luke's daughter, go down in the comments and say what you think and talk about how dumb it is that she's his daughter, because it's so stupid. I mean, come on, what the frig? Even though it's not stupid, you're stupid. You're stupid. See you later.